Welcome back, everybody. You're watching Tea Time with Susie, and our topic today is new beginnings. Before the break, we had a chance to meet our guest, Vanita Carter from Breaking Free, and we had the sad stories of sex trafficking here in the Twin Cities. The stats are just disturbing. I hope you're moved to think about this more and begin to consider what you can do to make sure that there's not another victim there that will go without getting any help. In our audience today, we have Joy Friedman, is that right?
Yes, it is.
And she's going to be sharing with us her own personal story with sex trafficking. When I think about the experience of going through that, I cannot even imagine. So I'm anxious to hear Joy share with us a little bit about her life. First of all, if I may ask, just knowing that you've been a victim of this, one of the things that keeps going to my mind is, how old were you when you became involved in sex trafficking?
I was actually 15 years of age when it first happened to me. I was raped by a pimp and 3 of his friends, held captive in a basement. I had cigarettes put out on me. I was stabbed with a knife, hit in the head with a champagne bottle, and all 3 of them had their way with me. And I was a block and a half away from my mother's house.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Do you remember much of your life before that? I mean, what was normal for you before that happened?
Normal. That's a word that I sort of laugh at. What is normal? I had sibling abuse, so therefore what I thought was love, actually, my brothers, we fought a lot, but not like typical brothers and sisters fought. There was a lot of knives and throwing of things. So abuse has been in my life, I will say most of my life, but there was also a lot of love, because my mother, I can't blame any of it on her. She gave unconditional love. Mm-hmm. And she was a Christian woman, so I can't say it was because of my bad upbringing. Things happen. And unfortunately, I happen to be one of those things that happen.
Wow. So on that day when this happened, I mean, what were you thinking after the incident occurred? I'm assuming, did you go back home that night after this happened?
Actually, I didn't know.
You didn't know.
The traffickers had actually threatened to kill my mother and slice her head off, he said, actually, and put it on a platter. Watching the abuse that was inflicted on the girls that were there while I was being held, and then what had happened to me also, I was led to believe that he would do and carry that out. So no, I didn't go home. I actually hid in a bush for hours. Oh. Trying to figure out where to go. I was scared, and that was once I ran when they took me outside to transport me to another place. I did take the opportunity that I saw and ran. Needless to say, I'm 15, so I was scared. I didn't know where to go. I didn't want to bring any harm to my family. Yes. So I hid, and then I creeped in the back door, and then I ended up leaving town. My mother saw me and figured out what happened, and I told her, and she shipped me out of town to get me away from it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. So how long did this go on for you, this life?
Well, I thought it was over, and unfortunately, where I was shipped to, I ended up running into some more. Oh. So it was like from then on, for the next 27, almost 27 years now, 23 of it was trafficking. Yes. In one form or another, mm-hmm. by guerrilla pimps. Mm-hmm. Pimps that never laid a hand on me, but psychologically abused me emotionally. Boyfriends who I said weren't pimps, but that were boyfriends, but they all abused me and everything was the same.
Yeah.
It was money, sex, yes. And then addiction.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure there are those of you at home, maybe mothers, wondering how to protect your daughters from things like that, maybe even fathers looking at this. As you look to the audience, what is one thing that you can tell the audience just in terms of, you know, if I have a daughter, what can I say to her to make her aware of this kind of thing?
If you have a daughter that is out in that you have distance between you, one is to communicate with her, talk to her about this, bring this up in the home. This is not in the urban areas only. This is in the suburbs. This happens to schoolgirls. They're not too young. This sheltering thing that I see a lot of mothers do is more harm than good, because the real world's out there. And you'd rather have them learn this stuff and get the right information from you at home than to get it from the people. They're going to get it from somebody. And school or the predators, they're going to teach them. Movies educate our kids nowadays. The media educates our kids. Music educates our kids. So bringing the facts to them, people always say, I don't want to show my kids that. That is so horrific. They need to see it. That's part of the problem, is they get involved in this thinking that it's glamour, and that they think it's just money and they can just do whatever they want and buy cars and have clothes. They don't see the realities of this. They don't see the violence that goes on with it. The money sounds great, but when the money's gone, what happened to you and what you had to do to get that money, that is with you the rest of your life.
So how did you become involved with Breaking Free? How did you find out about them? Or did they find you?
After a number of times of going to treatment and a number of times of being arrested, a number of times of being homeless, I ended up in treatment one more time. And I still turned one more trick while I was in treatment, because it's not about get rid of the drugs and then everything will be all right. It's not how it works. A lot of people think it's a quick fix. Give her everything she needs, our place to stay, all that, and it'll be fine. It's not what happened. I've relapsed over and over again in the lifestyle. I was introduced to Breaking Free after turning one more trick. My last trick that I turned while in treatment ended up in a very traumatizing, another rape and abuse basically from the trick. And I went and told on myself this time that I had done this. And my counselor introduced me to Breaking Free and said, had I ever heard about him? I had been to another program prior to that to deal with issues of prostitution, but I actually turned tricks all the way to that group and turned tricks all the way back from the group. Now, I won't blame that on their program. What I will say is I wasn't ready. When I walked in the doors at Breaking Free and they told me about the group, I went over to St. Paul, and Vanita Carter was actually running the group. So when I seen her and she started running groups, she was very real about what she said, which was awesome, because I needed someone to talk real to me. And she said it wasn't my fault. That was the first time I had ever heard that. I had been blamed over and over again and told that it was my fault. I caused this. Had I not been doing this, had I not been wearing that. Vanita made it very clear that it wasn't my fault. I didn't cause this, I didn't deserve it, and it wasn't okay. And her key thing she said to me that stuck the most was, I was worth saving, when I didn't think I was worth saving.
Some very powerful statements there. The first one, it was not her fault. It must be so freeing to come out of that, and maybe you've carried this guilt all your life to find out that it was not your fault, and then to hear that you are worth saving. I know there are women out there that are worth saving. Some of them we haven't raped them yet. Some of them have not heard about Breaking Free. I'm hoping that those of you that are watching this show today will spring into action. As a new beginning, you will begin to think of ways that you can make sure that somebody else out there that is suffering can have what Joy has now.